Hello and welcome to the seventh MGM tournament here in Berlin. This is a Highlander only tournament, and I'm Toffel. I'm here with Max. Say hi.
Hello.
Hey!
Hi.
and we're bringing you the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and the finals of this tournament. It was a very big tournament. Highlander is growing strong, and we're watching now on the left side, Sebastian, with a version of Scapeshift Ramp. Yeah, and on the right side, Johnny with a very interesting mono blue control version. And we see right from the gate a lot of interaction, a lot of, cool cards. Highlander is known for its very versatility of cards, and I'm really interesting to see the games unfold. I know that you played the tournament, right?
Yes, I played in this tournament as well. I also made my way to the top eight, but we'll see more of that later on. But I'm very glad to sit here with you and have the option, have the possibility to comment on this single elimination rounds as well.
Great. So we will get to know more of you later. And now we see the starting hands. On the bottom, you see the cards they're holding and drawing, or maybe scrying. And in the middle, of course, our patented meta game master's playmat. So we
Yes,
have,
there was already a interesting decision for Sebastian because first of all, his hand looked like it had all lands and spells, so it was a pretty good setup. But he was lacking a little bit of interaction, so he decided to take a mulligan here.
yeah, it's very different on the matchup. Of course, on the playoff round of the top eight, they know the matchups kind of. So this was a very slow, vulnerable to counterspell hand, which is of course a very bad idea if you play against a mono blue counterspell deck.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And
um,
also, he was lacking kind of the ramp spells that he needs for his deck to work. Because in the end, he is a ramp deck that wants to bring out big spells quite fast.
yeah, well, there's the way Scapeshift works is, as we probably can figure out, is by the card of Scapeshift, which lets you sacrifice a lot of lands and get Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, which deals damage for every mountain. And if you happen to have 7 mountains, it deals 3 damage for each, which totals up to 21. And the goal for Sebastian is to get lands into play and then play around a lot of counter spells from Johnny's side. We see here Johnny playing the Gitaxian Probe, assessing the situation. And what do you say? It looks to me like the blue deck has a little advantage here.
I would say so as
Because,
well, because first of all, you said there's like very specific key spells that you want to resolve
yeah,
from the Scapeship
exactly.
deck, and the mono blue control deck is perfectly set up to deal with those big spells by having a lot of counter spells on his own and a lot of card draw.
The kind of magic history dictates that control decks are a little bit better against combo decks, and Scapeship is somewhat of a combo deck. Ooh, Nature's Law is a good card that gets a forest out of the library directly into play, which has the neat ability of ramping from 2 to 4 in the next turn. That's
Yes,
good.
that's a very good start for him because that's basically what he was lacking in the first hand that he mulliganed. He really needs this ramp to get off to a quick start.
And you can see from the way it plays out, if the Later gets a land, he can play the Ranger's Path on the next turn, which gets him 2 forests. So in the fourth turn, he already has 7 mana. And that's a way you can play around the mono blue control deck a little and to get more mana and maybe have some more spells that draw cards, put some pressure, maybe even activate the Ravaging Ravine in the game on the battlefield already. So to say like, okay, well, if you don't do anything, I don't do anything, and you get a lot of damage each turn. That's perfectly fine by me.
Yes, and manlands especially are, I think, one of the weak points of the mono blue control deck
Yeah.
because there's very little ways he is able to interact with those.
There's advantages for playing one color of deck. For example, you're not as vulnerable to non-basic land hate in form of back to basics. In fact, even Johnny plays back to basics himself. And also you have a lot of disadvantage because Magic is known to have some polarization for colors. Blue can deal with some kind of permanence and so on. So he needs to play some interesting cards to get answers for his problems.
Yes, and as you already said, like back to basics would be one of the answers. He currently doesn't
Mhm.
have it, but maybe that's one of the cards he's looking for, as it seems particularly good against the rest of Sebastian's deck as well. But he's also playing the typical lands that we all know in kinds of Wasteland, Tectonic Edge, to get rid of specific lands.
So this is probably getting dazed. Yeah, you want to, I guess, yeah, you want to deal with cards that get more than one land. Like for example, getting two lands is pretty valuable in form of the cards you get into play. And days also gets worse for each land your opponent gets out of the
Exactly,
deck.
exactly. Like once your opponent has 7 lands in play, Daze is probably not going to hit a lot anymore. So I think Johnny's quite happy to get it off here. And yeah, as you just said, this card was also providing some card advantage in getting 2 lands. So it's kind of a nice deal to have the Daze up here.
There is kind of a point where the lands the opponent plays doesn't matter anymore because it's just too many. Like you can expect the game to go for at least 7 turns. So the amount of lands probably won't be an issue at all. But like if the days would be a remand, maybe there's a consideration of using it later or in fact a counterspell. Uh, but the days is just very happy to get it there.
Yes, yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Relic is also pretty good. It's not important. Some decks really hate the relic because of some cards from the graveyard, like a reanimator deck, of course, or a combo deck that works with cards of the graveyard. But getting cards that can't be flashback from a Smurfcaster Mage, for example, or to remove from Delph. We see in Johnny's hand there's a Treasure Cruise. Of course, Treasure Cruise, such a strong card that almost every blue deck will play it. Uh, it's a neat thing, and then of course you can just sacrifice it to draw a card, which he probably should because his hand is not really impressive.
Yes, and it also looks like the graveyard hate in this matchup is not doing a lot, because like we don't expect too much interaction via the graveyard from the Scapeshift deck. As you
Yeah.
said, there are some things like flashing backs. Oh, that's the point where we talked before,
Yeah, and now
and the Raging Revein gets in there.
now you can see basically Johnny is not having to build his hand in order to fight Escape Shift, which right now is not looking good. We see here the impulse gets, ooh, that's 4 good options.
Ooh, the
We,
Imprisoned in the Moon would be an answer to the Raging Revein, am I right?
yeah, and I think like at this point, Johnny has to be worried about the ravine
I
because
mean, he can always take the into the royal and reset the whole thing while drawing a card, but
I
I think
don't
he's looking for a permanent answer to it.
I don't think Into the Roy hits lands.
Oh, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
And that's also the point. Like lands are a lot of problems for the blue deck. If there's a back to basic, of course, but a lot of the bounce spells, for example, don't hit lands. Some of the removal spells are sorcery speed. So as you can see, Imprison in the Moon is kind of a weird card, but totally necessary because it also deals with planeswalkers. And you see Johnny
That's
taking
also indeed, yes. And
for,
now it also makes a lot of sense that he didn't crack the relic right away because he actually needed the mana to play the impulse. So it was perfectly fine.
I think he also wants to time it that way that he can play the Treasure Cruise first. Because after the relic, every card is exiled and that will reset again. There we see the Imprison in the Moon, which makes it
Yes.
basically functionally a waste. And there's a Drift of Phantasm. Oh, that's an interesting card. And Combo Man's Friend. It's a 3 mana 05, which, yeah, can block, I guess. It has Defender. But I mean, if your opponent beats you down with like 4/4s, that's not the worst idea. I can imagine there's a backup plan in that, but it primarily transmutes for 3 mana and then looks for a card that costs as much as the card itself. So you can tutor a card that costs 3, and that could be any counterspell or any interaction, which is very helpful. Ooh, Demonic Tutor.
That's one of the more powerful cards that is available on Highlander.
It's basically every powerful card that's available.
And that's why it's so good, because it can get you anything in any specific situation where you need it. So that's a nice one to fire off here.
A lot of consideration about maybe Demonic Tutor is too strong of a card because it's too versatile, or just a very good balanced card because you play 100 cards and you need to get some specific cards out of your deck. Some people like it. Some people say like, if maybe we should consider it. But that's so cool. Like when you play 100 cards, you have so many cards you want to play and so many different cards you might not want to play if you play, like, for example, modern or standard or anything. So to see your favorite cards more often is pretty cool.
And it also is kind of interesting, as it always keeps the discussion flowing while cards like these are around, and it's always really cool to keep people involved in the format, because those discussions are always super cool and super.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you have an opinion about a card because you like the format, you want to play it a lot. There's there's room for your opinions. So we see Scapeshift is the target, or like the chosen card for the Demonic Tutor. The problem here is a little that because of the imprisonment in the moon, the Ravaging Ravine doesn't make green mana anymore. So there's only one green mana available.
Yes, and we can also see like he is neither able to play the Scapeshift right now, nor the Eternal Witness that he also is in hand.
Yes.
So basically the only things that he can play right now are the two counter spells. And we'll see if Johnny starts firing off big threats like Warp Coil Engine or Ugin or Treasure Cruise that he has in hand right now. That would be primary targets for a Cryptic Command to not only counter the spell but also draw a card to the lands that you need to combo off.
Yeah, here we see a very easy Cryptic Command. Drawing 3 cards for the control deck is probably not the best idea. And Johnny has to kind of hurry because he wants to get in a place where he has answers and the ability to control the game. But also, Sebastian, with every land he plays, he's getting closer to the Scapeshift, which probably Johnny can assume is in his hand right now.
Yes, and the interesting part is he only drew a mountain, which is not a green source, but it is a 7th land. And so every green source will get him to the point that he will be able to combo off now. Yeah. And he has the Force of Will protection for whatever Johnny has an answer for the combo itself, which he doesn't even have right now.
Yeah, there is the point where Johnny is at 16, so he only needs 7 lands in total, because Valakut looks at mountains and the mountains look at each other. So we have 6 mountains entering the battlefield then, which is 18 damage. And the Venser could technically make the 2nd green mana. If you play use the tropical for green, play Venser, play the tropical again, you have exactly 4 mana left. You can play the Scapeshift with a counterbacker.
That is true, and it would have actually been... No, it wouldn't have been possible here because he only has 7 lands right now, but it would be possible next turn. Yes. Although he would give up the Force Protection at that point unless he draws another blue card.
Exactly. You can also choose to play the Venser on the Revenue Ravine or the Imprisonment, which gives access to another green.
So actually, I think it looks quite nice to play the Venser end of turn to just bounce the Imprison.
Yeah, that looks like the best.
Although we still have to keep in mind that he loses the Force Protection when he does so. Unless he draws another blue card.
Yeah, the question is now, always with those combo decks, do you want to go for it now? How likely is it that your opponent has a spell? I guess now.
Now it looks super good to go for it, because Johnny is tapped out completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is really... really sketchy. If Johnny happens to counter Scapeshift, there is the relic still in play. So there's no way Sebastian can get access to it again.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Although, this is not the only win conditions in his deck. He also plays a lot of creatures that can still beat down, like Tarmogoyf and even something like Savage Knuckleblade, which we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, awesome. You see, Savage Knucklebride, one of my favorite cards from Khans of Turkey, but it so happens it never really is able to be played. And uh, Highlander is the
I
way.
think he's going for it now. He can now that he has 8 lands in play, he can just play the Venser and bounce the Imprison in the Moon, and then play the Scape Shift with the double green available.
Yeah. And Johnny knows, uh-oh, this is not good. Scape Shift? Sure.
Daze is already played, no Force of Will response immediately, so yep, it resolves.
So that looks like a clean win for Sebastian on this turn. Of course, you always want to see maybe you don't have enough mountains in your deck, probably.
Which sometimes happens when you play Escape Shift in Modern, but it's very much less likely in Highlander because you have so
Yeah.
many lands in your deck. You probably have some mountains in there too.
The issue in Highlander is actually that you don't have enough mountains in your deck because there's not many cards that are mountains. Like in Modern, you can play 4 stomping grounds and you have 4 mountains, but uh,
Yes.
in Highlander, you actually have to play a lot of basic mountains. All right, that's 1-0 to Sebastian, and we see us in the next game.